One has to be careful about stories, especially true ones. When a story is told for the first time, it can find a place in the listener's heart. If the same story is told over and over, it becomes less like a presence in that chest and more like an X-ray of it. The beating heart of my story is this. I was born in Mogadishu, Somalia. I had a brief but beautiful childhood filled with poetry from my renowned relatives. Then came a bloody end to it, a lesson in life as a Somali. Death approaching us from its distance, walking into lives in an experienced stroll. At 12 years old, I lost 3 of the boys that I grew up with in one burst of machine gun fire. One pull from the misinformed finger of a boy probably not much older than us. But I was also unusually lucky. The bullets hit everyone but me. Luck followed me through this story. So does my luckless homeland. A few harrowing months later, I found myself on the last commercial flight to leave Somalia before war closed in on the airport. And over the years, fortune turned me into Somalia's loudest musical voice in the Western Hemisphere. Meanwhile, my country festered, declining more and more. When I went on a tour of 86 countries last year, I could not perform in the one that mattered the most. And when my song, Waving Flag, became the theme song for the World Cup last year, the kids back home were not allowed to listen to it on the airwaves. Whatever melodious beauty that I found living in the spotlight, my country produced an opposing harmony in the shadows, and the world hardly noticed, but I could hear them. And now this terrible year, the worst famine pillages the flesh of the already wounded in Somalia, and the world's collective humanitarian response has been a defeated shrug. If ever there was a best and the worst time to return, it was then. So 20 summers after I had left as a child, I found myself on my way back to Somalia. I hoped that my presence would let me shine a light into this darkness, maybe spare a life equal to mine, from indifferently wasting away. But I wasn't a statesman, and I wasn't a soldier, just a man made by fortune and the power of the spotlight. So to save someone's life, I was willing to spend some of that capricious currency called celebrity. We had been told that Mogadishu was still among the dangerous cities on the planet. So it was quiet on the 15th seat, plane from Nairobi. We told nervous jokes at first, then looked to diffuse the tension. The one book that I had brought was Hemingway's A Movable Feast. I reached a chapter that was titled Hunger Was Good Discipline, and stopped. That idea needed some contemplation. The very thing driving so many from their homes in Somalia was drawing me back there. I read on. Hemingway felt that paintings were more beautiful when he was belly empty, hollow hungry. But he was not speaking of the brutal and criminally organized hunger of East Africa. His hunger was beautiful. It made something of you. The one that I was heading into only made ashes of you. By now, the ride was bumpy. We were flying low, so I could see Barawe and Marka, beauties of the coastal towns that I had always dreamt of visiting. The pilot joked that he would try to fly low enough for my sightseeing, but high enough to avoid the rocket-propelled grenades. For miles along that coast, all you see are paint-like blue water, beautiful sand dunes eroding, and an abandoned effort to cap those eroding sand dunes with concrete. Everything about Somalia feels like an abandonment. The buildings, the peace initiatives, the hopes and dreams of greatness for a nation. With the ocean to our backs, our wheels touched down in Mogadishu. At the airport, the same one that I left years before, to the surround sound of heavy artillery pounding the devil's rhythm. Now there was an eerie calm. We clear immigration, passing citizens with AK-47s slung over their shoulders. It's not a small task to be safe in Mogadishu, so we keep our arrival a secret until after we ride from the airport to the city. A ride on which they say life expectancy is about 17 minutes if you don't have the kind of security that had been arranged for me. Over breakfast at a safe house, I update my sense of taste with kidney and injera, a perfectly cooled grape drink. Then we journey into the city streets. It's the most aesthetically contradictory place on earth, a paradise of paradox. The old Italian and locally inspired architecture is colored by American and Russian artillery paint. Everything stands proudly lopsided. And then came the makeshift camps set up for the many hungered displaced Somalis. They are the reason that I'm here. If my voice was an instrument, then I needed to be an amplifier at this time. If my light was true, then I needed it to show its face here, where it counts. Nothing I have ever sung, I thought, will matter much if I can't beat the mouth of a silenced. But will the world hear? And will the world have ears for them like they did for me? I find the homeless Somali's arms open, waiting for the outside world and hoping for a second chance into the fenced heart of the world. I meet a young woman watching over her dying mother, who has been struck by the bullet of famine. The daughter tells me about the journey to Mogadishu, a 200-mile trek across arid, parched land, with adults huddling around children to protect them first. This mother refused to eat her own food in order to feed the abandoned children they had picked up along the way, and now she was dying because of that. The final and most devastating stop for me was Bananther Hospital, where I was born. The doctors are like hostages of hopelessness, surrounded and outnumbered. Mothers hum lullabies, holding the skeletal heads of their children. It seems eyes are the only ornaments left of their beautiful faces, eyes like lanterns, holding out a glimmer of faint hope. Volunteers are doing jobs they are unqualified for. The wards are overcrowded, mixing gun wounds, malnutrition, and cholera patients. Death is in every corner of this place. It's lying on the mattresses, holding the tiny wrists of half-sleeping children. It's near the exposed breasts of girls turned mothers too soon. It folds in the cots, all-knowing and silent. Its mournful wind swells the black sheets. Here, each life ends, sadly, too suddenly and casually to be memorialized. In this somber and embittered, forgotten place, at least they were happy to see that I had come.